Hello and welcome to this week's The Gwladys Beat. We'll be discussing this week's good, bad and ugly from supporting Everton. I'll take the ugly and I'll let the other two fight out between who's the good and the bad. So, welcome to Dawn and Scott who are joining me today. How are you doing, guys?
All right, thanks.
Yeah, not too bad. Been better, but, we won't go there.
Yeah, I think Scott's just recovering from a bad bout of COVID, so it's good that he's joined us today.
Well, surely the result yesterday can cheer me up, even if the midweek one wasn't going to help.
Yeah, I wondered why you said you're feeling better over the last day or two. But so obviously it's been a busy week for the Blues. We've played in the League Cup, League, and with mixed results, as we can say. But we'll start off at the beginning of the week. So the QPR game in the League Cup obviously didn't really go to plan. Getting knocked out on penalties, 8-7. I did worry when I saw Charlie Austin on the team sheet that he's the type of player that was always going to score a couple against us. But what were your thoughts on the game, Dawn?
Well, like you say, Charlie Austin, what's he good at? Very good in the air. First goal, where's the centre halves? Like he was, Godfrey was sucked in on one side. Holgate was on the near post. So he was left on his own. The most dangerous person with his head was left on his own for the first goal. And then the second one, Godfrey doesn't even challenge for it. It's like, it's ridiculous. In the air, when the ball's being whipped in, he should have been man-marked. But we've got to do better than that, haven't we?
I think that there seems to be a constant stream of players that score loads of goals against us, don't they? There tends to be anyone who's technically a goal scorer. I think Danny Ings falls into that category as well. So as soon as I saw him on the team sheet, I did fill me with a bit of dread, to be honest. What were your thoughts on it, Scott?
To be honest, like you just said there, some of the defending was diabolical. But I'm never a fan. Like, so we already had a weekend team. Everybody knows about the players that are out. I just do not see the sense, especially like everybody knows how long it's been since we had some real success. Why even weaken it even more? And I know players play a lot of games, but when why not play Corey and Allen and Gray? Why not just play them all? Your strongest players, maybe go 2-0 up, try and get a result, and then bring them off instead of bringing them on late on. It's just, we were already weak. It was always going to be a hard game from when you seen the team sheet. And, I just think we could have made the most of it as best we could. And I just don't think we did at all, really. I think getting to penalties flattered us a bit, because I do think like it was a really, really weak performance, really.
I agree. I think you touched on the weakened team. I think when I saw the team, it was probably almost stronger than what I'd seen on social media. A lot of people were touting playing Gordon, Branthwaite, Sims, throwing out these teams. I think probably disrespectful to QPR in the sense that they're, a fully fledged championship side. They're no mugs from like lower division. I think the main thing for me that struck me when I was watching it was how weak the midfield is without either of Allen or Decore in there. And do you think there's an over-reliance on that in our squad at the moment? Dawn, we'll go to you first. That one you seem to be shaking your head.
Yeah, I think, like, agreeing with both of you, I think it highlights how we don't have strength and depth, because the second, I think we've maybe got about a good 14, 15 players. We don't have anyone strong enough to play in that central midfield position. I think, I don't know if at Alan's age he could be doing the 2 games a week and not, you might be a higher risk for injury. But Decore's a fine specimen of a man, isn't he? He's very athletic, so maybe he could have played. But I agree, there's no one really that can do their job. And they must have been, clapping their hands when they'd seen that team sheet with Gomez and Tom Davies in the middle, because, that's just not great, is it? What do you think, Scott?
Yeah, to be honest, I seen after the game, Rafa was in for a bit of stick, and I think people have been waiting for that. But I just don't think you can blame him because, like you said, once you get outside of the starting 11 and maybe 2 or 3 subs, once you get outside that, it doesn't make good viewing. It's hard. The weakened positions once players are out, it's really, really difficult to have the same quality. And then there's some teams in the league who've got depth in numbers with 2 or 3, who even their subs, we'd be quite happy to be bringing them on, but we just don't have that. So I think you've just got to try and play your strongest team in them games. I was really disappointed. Rafa's done well. I think Ronson looked off the pace. I think he looked off the pace again yesterday. I know we said just before about maybe some people were saying start some of the younger lads, and I didn't really fancy that myself, but I think if he is off the pace and that era Sims he's played in that championship, he might have been a better option to try and nick us a goal. But it's just that the lack in depth of quality really is a concern, because if we go on and pick up another couple of injuries, then you're going to be in trouble. And it's just about keeping them first team players fit.
I know, Scott, you were saying obviously about playing Alan and Decore in that sort of game, but obviously we saw last season coming towards Christmas time, Alan started breaking down, and then Decore picked up a knock. Would you have any sort of sympathy for trying to favour the league this season, or do you think it's just go and win a cup and then let the league deal with itself?
Well, I think it's hard to find a balance, isn't it? You'd have to expect Tom Davies to be able to come in and do a decent job. And someone with the quality of Gomez, you should be able to expect them to, but you can't. So I think you've got to, it depends what you're expecting. The league is Europa League, a realistic possibility. If we don't strengthen in January, I've got to be realistic. That would be fantastic, but that's going to be hard given the squads we've got. So for me, get a cup. If we're going to finish 10th, let me at least get to a semi-final and or a final and go out for the day, because you're going to struggle. I'd rather have something to sing about and finish 10th in the league than finish 8th anyway and just throw the cups away.
Yeah, I know what you mean. So, Dawn, what do you think on the back of what Scott just said? What do you think would constitute success this season, based on obviously now having basically the league and FA Cup to play for?
Better than last season. Obviously, what we were second at Christmas or something like that, and then it all went downhill from then. I think getting into Europe would be great, like Scott said, but my concern would be, obviously this season, financial fair play is holding us back on being able to buy players, and if we were in Europe, we need a much bigger squad than we've got now. And with financial fair play, I don't think that we could we'd be able to bring in the reinforcements that we need. So I guess then it's the cup. But either of those things, you look at the top 4 this season, that's going to be a difficult competition. There's look at Chelsea and even United with Ronaldo and stuff, and then the teams below that, do they have more strength than us? Well, yeah. So I think I'd probably sit on the fence. Both. Let's get Europe and let's get the FA Cup. But realistically, I'm not confident about either.
Well, the thing that struck me was, seeing that Man City team playing against Wickham. They had essentially a full team out. There was Sterling, De Bruyne, Mahrez, all starting against the 3rd division team. And you just think, for me, it just seems like there's such a chasm between what we can offer in the early rounds of those sorts of competitions and what they can. They've essentially got 2 teams, haven't they, that can go and really put up a fight for those competitions. But I suppose that's where we've got to try and get to. So on that comment, what do you think of letting Moise Kean and James Rodriguez go? Would they have offered more depth to the squad? I know obviously there's financial fair play to consider in that, but have we done the right transfer business this summer all things considered, i.e. bringing in Rondon, letting James go, letting Moise Kean go?
I think both of them, James and Kean, are potentially bad eggs. Like, for me, Kean, all right, mate.
He's just unfortunately it's never happened before, but he's just come up for the nose.
I want you.
Yeah, I think Moise Kean, to me, his body language and everything since he's been at Everton, he didn't look like he wanted to be there.
Sorry about that.
No worries, Scott.
So in that respect, I'm glad that he went. He only performed really in one game, which was the 2-2 Newcastle game, when he got his first goal for us. And as for James, I mean, he got stabbed in the back by Ancelotti, so did Alan, but they both reacted in polar opposite ways. I think it was made more difficult because Benitez fell out with him at Madrid, apparently, and his way of playing and his laziness, I guess, doesn't fit in with the Benitez stuff. So in that respect, I'm glad he's gone, but maybe he could have been on the maybe he could have been a bench player, and when we need a goal, you could throw James on. But you know, he was our biggest earner, and to sit on the bench, maybe it's the right thing. But just to throw in there, Gababbin's injured again.
That doesn't help, does it? I mean, he's the most unlucky fella in the world, isn't he? But there does come a point where, you know, how long can you wait for him to be fit? But yeah, so but do you agree, Scott? Do you think it was just right to cut ties with Keane and Rodriguez and just get them out the club?
I do think it was the right thing because they didn't want to know. Given the recent situation with injuries, would we have been better with them? Probably not, because the negativity they were probably bringing to the training grounds and behind the scenes and getting a start above younger players who are hungry and want to know. I just can't see this, regardless of quality. I know if Callum was listening, he'd disagree, but you know, regardless of quality, if someone's bringing that negative vibe and that bad, I don't want to be attitude, then just don't play them. Like they give that job and a little run out yesterday, and Ellis Sims was there, and you've got Anthony Gordon, who okay, don't get me wrong, he's not like a world beater at the moment, but he's hungry and he wants to play. And I think if you give these young kids a chance, they're more likely to fight and want to win and really try and earn the place and get the fans behind them. I'd rather see it. And I know that Robin only got 2 minutes, but I tell you what, I'd give him 15 next time out. If you go 2-0 up in a game where you look like you're just going to get the result, I'd give him the last 15 minutes. And if he gets a goal, then you give him from 65, don't you? Or if he looks good. But as for the other two with the bad attitude, mate, it's never been for me. I think there's no point having somebody who doesn't want to be there, regardless, because you're not going to get 100%. So what's the point?
Yeah, I agree. To be fair, I think we signed that young lad, didn't we? Then through the week from Sunderland, Francis Okoronkwo, and
easy for you to say.
There's a lot of pressure on that. But yeah, and obviously giving Dobbins some minutes through the season, I think giving them young players a pathway from the under-21s might prevent the sort of, you know, Thierry Small situation that we saw in the summer, mightn't it? And I've definitely at this point where we've got a bit of a thin squad, definitely quality-wise, I don't see why we wouldn't drop Branthwaite in if you know, Godfrey's struggling at times and we pick up a few injuries. So do you think that's something we'd look more towards this season, Dawn, or do you think that's still quite a high-risk strategy?
What, bringing the kids in, you mean?
Yeah, but essentially, yeah.
It's probably better now Sicky's not there.
Aye.
I think the most important thing, one of the most important things that Benitez has brought in is he's brought in like the work ethic and the teaminess. And I think the other two prima donnas go, and they wouldn't have fitted into that because there's no sort of superstars. Everyone works as hard as everyone else, and that's a good sort of mentality to have for the kids to come into. I think we need to see more coming. Like, the director of football has got to be held responsible for some things, because we don't see enough coming through the under-23s. We buy players, and you don't see many of them stepping up who are good enough. That Dobbin played in the friendly against United pre-season, and he was really good. But it's one of them, isn't it? Are they the best thing out of the under-23s, or are they good enough for the first team? And that's where I'm not sure. Like, jury's out for me on the likes of Branthwaite. So I'm not really sure.
Yeah. I think there definitely needs to be a better transition, doesn't there? Whether that's at Everton through the loan system or wherever. But I think we saw for a long time Anthony Gordon being too good for the 21s, and then probably not quite good enough for the first team. And I think it's bridging that gap, which is the most important thing. But I think we've sort of lifted the mood from the QPR chat anyway about potentially having one or two youngsters who could kick a ball. So on that note, we'll move on to yesterday's game against Norwich. Obviously, a better result. Whether it was a significantly better performance or not, I'm not sure. But we got there in the end. So, what were your thoughts on that, Scott? Did you get to watch it all?
Yeah, I watched the game. Unfortunately, I am still isolating and I am still a bit under the weather. So me eldest lad who normally goes with me normally gets a shout on the pod. So Isaac, I know you'll watch later. That's for you. He was at a party. So my youngest lad, he went with my wife, and I was, for the first time in a long time, for the home game, watching on the telly. So I thought it was all right. Yeah. I can't get around this thing sometimes where we seem to sit back and let teams have a lot of the ball. Sometimes I want to see a bit more pressure and a bit more urgency to get it back, because they must have had, I haven't looked at the stats, but there was times there where they would be able to put cross after cross after cross after cross. And I know Yerry has a good game. I was impressed with his performance, but there was times there where you think, stop it before they get the chance to cross. There's got to be a bit more urgency there, and I think we were very lucky for them. Maybe they, obviously, they're not prolific, are they? I think they've scored 3 goals all season so far. They're one of the weaker attacking teams, but I think if you give them enough chances, they're going to score. And I think we rode our luck a little bit. We did look good on the counter. I was impressed with Alan Anzakore. I still think Ronzon's way off the mark. But overall, good performance. We sort of become a bit of a routine win, whereas I think maybe last year we probably would have struggled to get that second goal and maybe probably ended up drawing the game. So I can't really complain too much. I just still look a bit weak at the back, a bit vulnerable, particularly from set pieces, and that's got to be sorted out, I think.
Yeah. What were your thoughts? Were you thinking something along the same lines, Dawn?
I think I don't understand these days how, like, from a coaching perspective, why don't they, like Scott says, prevent the cross coming in the first place? Like when Leicester won the league, they were happy for the crosses to come in because the 2 centre-halves were like big meatheads who were good in the air and could get rid of it. But I know we've got Yerry Mina and Keane who were all right in the air, but it's not like necessarily a strong point of ours to prevent the cross coming in. But yesterday, like Godfrey's position, he's just out of position. He was playing fullback, but in the position of a centre half, like he's so tucked in that when they want to take a cross, like they've got loads and loads of space to do it. I don't understand that. I don't understand it at all. But I think generally we went about our business. We got the result. It wasn't amazing or anything. Rondon wasn't in the game, but I think, to be fair to him, he stayed on, like, didn't he? I think he's trying to play him into fitness because he's not really had a pre-season. And when we bought him, he wasn't expected to play 3 or 4 games in his first month, was he? He's probably expected to get last 10 minutes here and there, because DCL being out, it'd be Richarlison up front, wouldn't it? And now both of them out at the same time. I think it's just sod's law, really. What about you?
Yeah, no, well, I was landing at Manchester as the game kicked off yesterday from my jollies. So as soon as I got signal as we came into land, I got a stream up, and I don't think the fella next to me was too impressed that I was streaming in the air, but it had to be done. So I sort of caught most of the stream before we drove home, and then from what I could see, first half, I think we were quite comfortable without really creating a great deal. I think Gray looked lively. There was a couple he flashed across the face of the goal, and I think he's been quite a spark of quality, to be honest, in the side. Which you expect him to have the odd flicks here and there, but he seems to be quite efficient as well with his work, and he picks up free kicks when he doesn't keep the ball and that sort of thing. So I was impressed with him, and again, Alan and Decore, I think, are streets ahead of anything else that we've got, to the point where you worry if either of them got injured. You'd rarely see that in the team, especially in a 4-man midfield. But yeah, it's one of them where I sort of wanted to see us blow away Norwich. Once we got that first goal, I wanted to see us go on and get 3 or 4, because they're rubbish at the end of the day. With all due respect to them, they look like relegation fodder, don't they? So,
can I ask? Did you not feel before the game? I was asked in the ladies before kick-off. Oh, Norwich haven't won a game this season. It's got us losing written all over it. Did any of you feel like that yesterday?
Well, you always feel like that, don't you? Whenever someone hasn't scored in 20 games or picked up a point, it would have been nice for us to bookend both of their last 2 wins. So, yeah, I was expecting it, but I'd been disappointed if we actually had have lost.
Yeah.
See, can I just like we were talking about, like the kids before, like, and the kids getting a chance. Like everyone knows, Sims went out on loan, done really, really well. Now, do you know, if you were him, or like imagine you were his parents, right? And you see Calvert-Lewin's injured, Richarlison's out, Rondon's had no pre-season. You'd be thinking, if you were him or someone around him, you'd be saying to him, lad, this is your chance. This is your chance, right? And Rondon wasn't in that game at all for me. And I know we brought Dobbin on, but why not like 60 minutes? Why isn't he getting a chance? Like, why you've sent him out on loan and said, if you do a good job, when you come back, we haven't sent you out on loan. If an opportunity comes up, you've got to take it, but then you're not giving him the opportunity.
Yeah, but saying that, we brought Rondon in for a reason, didn't we? And they see them in training every day, so maybe Sims isn't that level yet. Whereas Rondon, he's the only experienced striker we've got at the moment. We've got United next week, and like, you wouldn't start a kid against them. And I think him getting so much pitch time is trying to play him into fitness.
If he'd have brought Sims on now and he scores, would you give him a go?
No.
Oh, I don't know, because that Rob, I mean, I know that I see what you're saying about them trying to get Rondon fit, but is he going to trouble United's defence based on what you've seen?
Probably not, but is Sims?
Will we trouble United's defence as a team? That's the question.
Well, I think Townsend and Gray will. I think if you can get Decore running at them, he will. But I just don't see. I mean, why even put him on the bench? Why is he even on the bench then? If he, what's he gone out on loan for and being brought back? Why is he being kept back? What's the point?
I did think, in fairness, Scott, when Dobbin came on, I thought that was a bit of a kick in the teeth to Sims. Obviously, Sims has been there a lot longer. I think Dobbin's been highly thought of by the club for years, and I think had he not have got injured, I think it was last season maybe, he'd have probably made his debut earlier, as that sort of token gesture debut. But I think Sims must be sat there thinking, he's got like 3 years on Dobbin, I think, maybe 4. And if he's sat there thinking, I still haven't really had any significant playing time, and bringing Dobbin on and things like that for the last few minutes, obviously it's like a different position. Dobbin was playing out wide, but I don't know. I think Sims must be looking at thinking, what more do we have to do? Time.
With Sims' record, in the Championship, I should imagine any team down there would snap him up.
Yeah, but shouldn't he be asking then? Because he shouldn't just be assuming. I've gone out on loan, I've come back, I did all right when I was out on loan. I've come back, Dobbin starting in front of me. Okay, so what do I have to do? What's he got better than me? What have I got better than him? And what do I need to do to get myself up the pecking order? They're the questions he should be asking rather than just going, oh, well, I've been here 3 years longer. Because obviously they see them in training all the time, don't they? So you guess if he's not getting on the pitch, there's a reason for it.
Yeah. No.
I should imagine generally the reason is because Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison are fit, but now they're not. He's, I think you've got to, at some point, you've got to give that opportunity to answer them questions. Can you do it in the Prem? Well, if you never give me more than 10 minutes, which they generally don't get, like Moise Kean, like a lot of the time he was getting the last 15 minutes. How are they going to do it if they, Dobbin got 2 minutes, which is great because he can notch that off his list. But if for the rest of the season he doesn't get more than 8 minutes in a game, generally they're going to get brought on in a game where they're struggling to score, and they might just go, I see what you can do the last 10 minutes. It's not enough. I just think maybe just give them a go. Just like I said this last season, though, I was the same. I was crying out for it when players weren't making an effort. Just give them a chance. Like, surely to God, like that Sims, he must think, if it's 60 minutes and you're 1-0 up against Norwich and you go to him, right, lad, Rondon's coming off. Just get out there and just create something, not necessarily score, but look hungry, make your eyes work, try and get a shot off, whatever. Surely he's gonna give 110%. But you've got to give them a chance. The two main men are out. And a player who's been playing in China who's not fully fit is,
that's why he left him on though, surely, to try and get him up to match fitness, because against United, if it was me picking the team, I wouldn't throw a kid in at the start against United. You might give them a bit more pitch time there, because I doubt Rondon will have a great day at the office. But like I said before, Dobbin played against United in the pre-season friendly, and he did really well. So if he's above in the pecking order, then there must be some sort of issue with him.
Either of them are due for me, Dawn. Either of them, but 2 minutes isn't enough for us to see.
Well, when Rondon scores a hat-trick against United next week, we'll come back to you on that one, Scott.
Yeah, we'll like Scott eat his words then, Scott.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I'd be equally happy. I'd be equally happy, but it's just, like, imagine you have come up through the youth circuit and the likes of Curtis Jones, right? He got a couple of good couple of games in Liverpool where he got that at the end of the games, and then he played really, really well. And then they played him in some lower round cup games, and he dictated the play. And the guy plays every week, but he's been given the chance to play every week.
But then they mightn't trust Sims. Like, they obviously trusted Curtis Jones to get him in the first team when they did. So you would assume that he's not maybe as highly thought of.
But even if you look at, like we were saying about Nkunku as well, whenever he's played, he's looked really good. Doesn't get a sniff, hasn't had a sniff, and then has he gone back out now, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He has to go on loan, yeah.
Well, you would, because you've got no chance of getting a game, no matter how poorly we're performing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that comes back to being a question about the director of football, doesn't it? And how you bed them players in and what the pathway is, and also primarily what they promised when they signed the contract. Because if a player knows the position, then they can't really have any scope for moaning. But it all comes down to, doesn't it, what the pathway is and how we improve that going forward.
Yeah, you don't know how they've been messed around, do you? Like
no.
He did a few good games in the early rounds of the Carabao last season, and then Ancelotti wouldn't give him a chance. I think he'd come on maybe in one league game, did all right, and then he'd come on against City when we were getting battered. But if you think that happened, and then Benitez has come in and he's asked to go out on loan because he wants football, you don't know sort of what's going on behind the scenes, because you've only got to look at Nikola Vlasic, haven't you, who's at West Ham now. He was a great little player, and he was messed around by Koeman, or was it Koeman? He was messed around by Allardyce, because I remember he started in a game, he did all right, and then he wasn't even on the bench the next week, and there was nothing wrong with him, he wasn't injured. And then, God, who come in after that? Forget what order did he come in. Silver or whoever come in. And then he got told to train with 3 others on their own, and then he left because he was messed around all the time. Like,
yeah. No, I mean, there's a lot goes on in the training ground, isn't it? And only them and the management will know exactly what goes on, but it doesn't look from the outside as if we've got any promotion of youth at the minute, really. Whether it's through the academy or the young players we buy in, it just looks like they're sort of pushed to one side and the senior players get the positions. But just quickly moving on to sort of the perceptions of this season so far. Obviously the cup exit has shrouded things a little bit and maybe tinged with a little bit of, latent hatred for Benitez by some, and a willingness to sort of poo-poo anything we do. But 6 games in, the same amount of points as we had last season, the same goal difference as we had last season. And last season we had a song at number 1 in the iTunes charts, basically saying that we're the best team in the world. So, what's the difference between this season and last season in terms of the perception? Is it all League Cup or is it something deeper than that?
Do you know what? Right, for me, the only difference is last season you got all the people who like to jump on the bandwagon because we had Carlo Ancelotti. They just love it. They like, if it had been a lesser manager last season, would we have had that song in the iTunes chart? Probably not, because all your irregular fans jump on board because they feel like they've got something to sing about. Whereas the people like us and the people who go to the game every week, it doesn't matter who the manager is, how they're playing, you sing and dance, you sing in your chair, but you have an honest opinion of what you've seen. So I think for me, the start's been great. Looked really poor in parts of the game against Villa. Looked really poor against QPR. But I am a realist, and you've got to know why. We spent 1.6 million. We spent money on one player. Okay, Townsend's come in. He's looked great on a free. Begovic hasn't looked that good to me. Okay, he can fill the gap, but that's all it is. Gray's been phenomenal. And Ron's on. Maybe we'll get there, but isn't. So I think, have we done well so far? Yeah, we've done well. Are them 2 defeats a surprise? Well, only if you're looking at things unrealistically, given the quality throughout the rest of the squad and the injuries we've had. So I think we have done well. I think, have we overachieved? No. Would we have overachieved if we played Man City, Liverpool, Arsenal, Tottenham? Yeah, we would have, but we haven't played them. So with the points tally we've got from who we've played, I think it's probably about right for what I'd expect, given maybe even better than what I'd expect, given the business in the summer and the lack of depth. So I think we're doing well. Can we maintain it against the top sides? Maybe when we've got all our first team players back. Definitely needs to strengthen in January. I just think the difference between now and last year was many people and are going to be against Rafa no matter how well he does, just because he managed Liverpool. If it was a manager who didn't have any affiliation with Liverpool, he'd probably be singing and dancing now.
Yeah. So just to back up what you said there, Scott, about possibly getting slightly better.
Not ramble like.
No, just to back it up. So we're from my possibly quite poor calculations from last season, I think we're 5 points better off from the first 5 fixtures this season than we were in the same fixtures last year. So is this sort of what you were thinking would be the start, Dawn, or were you thinking we'd do better, worse?
Last season we had the number 1 hit, as you said. We had we had James Rodriguez and we had Ancelotti. Now we got Rafa the Gaffer and Andros Townsend and Rondon and Freeze. You know what I mean? I think going to the Man United pre-season game away and watching that drivel, I think based on everyone not being happy to start with about Benitez coming in, the lack of transfer business, number of players going out, I think he's possibly exceeding expectations. I think, we haven't played the big boys yet, really, so that'll be the test for me. But I do think we're probably doing better than I expected us to do. And the big thing that I like is the mentality shift, that everyone works for each other. I think Andros Townsend has been absolutely awesome, and Gray has as well. But I want to see particularly Gray, because he did things in spells for Leicester. Can he be consistent, and can he be consistently good against the big boys? So, yeah, I think this season we're doing better than I expected. About you?
Yeah, no, I agree. I thought we'd struggle, to be honest. I thought the first 6 games would be massive for Benitez in terms of turning the fan base round, and he sort of needed to give us something which we didn't have last season. And the football hasn't been overwhelmingly great in the sense of when Martinez came in and there was a shift towards a completely different style of football. I think he's just done exactly what you've said. He's made everyone work hard. If you don't work hard, you don't play. And he's given us the sort of crossing from the bar, a lot of crosses, wing play, and quite exciting football on the break, which we haven't had pace on that side for a long time. And so I think he does sort of get what we're after. And I think we've done better than what we should have done, given how much money we spent. But obviously, the proof will be in the pudding when we start playing some of the better sides in the league. How does the system lend itself to that, to counter-attack them? Or are they just going to pick us off defensively and walk through the midfield, with it being a 4-man midfield? So there's still plenty to see going on, especially, United will be a big test at the weekend. But, so far so good. I think we couldn't have done much better than 13 from 18. Obviously, having 18 from 18 would have been great. You see Liverpool dropping points yesterday. City have dropped points, and the Premier League doesn't work like that every season, does it? You can't just go and steamroller it. So, yeah, as long as we stay in the mix, you've always got a chance, haven't you?
Yeah. But I just want to ask what you think about Begovic as a signing, because what's the United keeper's name? The previous one we were after, is it Romero or something like that?
Romero,
yeah. I mean, we were after him. They wouldn't sell him to us because we were competition at the time. I think he's gone on a free now, hasn't he? And we bring in Begovic, who to me is like, he's going about his business. He could have saved at least 3 of those penalties against QPR if he wanted to. And it's like he's come in for a last payday. And we have too many players we bring in like that. Like Delph's one of them as well, isn't he? He's come in, he's on a decent salary, and he's just injured or rubbish. Like, I don't know what you think.
It's hard because we do seem to have this thing now. Look, I do believe when Delph come in, stop it, lad. I do believe they thought he might be able to come in and be a bit of a leader. And I do remember when he very first came and he did play, he was given sometimes, like when we were underachieving, he was very vocal. But at the same time, he was very vocal and wasn't doing a lot himself. So, it is a shame. I don't think Begovic... is he good enough to be our second keeper? Probably, but I don't think so. Do you feel confident when he's in goal? I don't. I know he had the penalty save or whatever pre-season, but there's times there when he's looked a bit sloppy. Sorry about him in the background. He's been a little we do need to get rid of this. And there is a lot of players, I think, who we've had and we've spent money on and who've come in and we've wasted on wages who fall into that category. I mean, over the last 10 years, the list is endless of players who we've bought who are substandard. And I think it's going to be difficult for us this season, especially if we do keep picking up little injuries. That are gonna you're gonna see you're gonna see that the quality that they are, and you've got to be realistic with your expectations when you see the sides we field. Okay, for me, the midfield's great. Gray's come in, Townsend's come in. They look as good. They look in the same league as Allen and Zakore when they're playing. That fits for me. The two up top when they're fit, Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison, is great. Across the back when everyone's fit, it's not bad. Yeah, we could do with another right back, but they just don't seem to be firing on all cylinders together at the moment across the back. There seems to be just something not right, and whether that is because Coleman's out and the others don't seem to know the best. I mean, yeah, he looked good, but outside of that, the rest of that team, it does concern me. The quality's not there, and I think a lot of that is through these type of signings. There's just still, even though they've got rid of so many players, there's so much deadwood that needs to go and be replaced with quality. It's a big concern for me, that. Yeah, and it starts with Delph. There is a big list there. I haven't got it written down, but I wish I did have. But there's a good few who still need to go and be replaced, and it's not there for us to do at the moment, and I think that's where we're going to struggle throughout the season, really. Look at it, honestly.
But no, I completely agree in terms of, I didn't have any confidence in him saving a penalty. I watched him in that Florida Cup, and I don't know how you can have 2 penalty shootouts. All right, mate. I don't know how you can have 2 penalty shootouts and concede like 20 odd penalties. He doesn't seem to go the right way for any of them. And then the one he did go the right way for, he sort of just palmed into his own goal, which is ridiculous. But I mean, as a backup keeper point of view, you don't want to be spending money on a backup keeper realistically, because in an ideal world they're not going to play. But it's whether it's better off keeping João Virginia. I know he was against City last year and had a decent game, and surely there's more merit in that than there is going and getting someone like Begovic, who is okay, but getting on doesn't really offer a future.
Is he a Prem keeper? No. Is he a Championship keeper? I probably don't think so. You like you said, Mike, sorry to interrupt, but you're like, surely your under-23 keeper's got to be better than him.
Yeah.
The difference is that the younger keepers, Virginia or whoever it is, has got something to prove, whereas Begovic is getting like he's at the end of his career, nothing to prove. And like I asked because everyone was giving Tom Davies grief about his penalty save on Tuesday, and I just think Begovic could have saved at least 3 of them, and I think Pickford would have saved the first goal as well.
Yeah.
A few people giving Zabi stick. Would he be put on your pen? No. Did he take one because he had to? Yeah. Was it a bad pen? Not really. The keeper went the right way. It wasn't a bad. I've seen worse. Look at Fernandez yesterday. One of the best penalty takers in the league. Put it right over the bar. So was Davies bad? No. Does he deserve the stick? No. Is he good enough to get us where we want to be? In the past, I would have said, yeah, and he's only young. But I don't think he's a bad player. I just don't think he's as good as the quality of we want or need, considering where we want to be. As for a lot of them outside the first team,
I agree. To be fair, I think he gets stick based on the expectations of when he played against City that time and what everyone thought he was going to be, more so than what he is. Do you know what I mean? He's a young player who's developing. I don't think he excels at anything, but I don't think he's awful at anything. He's just quite a well-rounded centre midfielder at a certain level. Is that the level of Allen and Decore? No, but I do think he just gets a lot of grief, especially when you've got people like, as you say, Delph picking up obscene wages to do absolutely nothing, and Andre Gomez, who gets off with murder in my eyes, obviously has a good amount of quality when he wants to show it. But you know, does he deserve more grief than Davis? Does he deserve significantly less grief than Davis? Sorry, I'm not sure.
It's because he's a blue as well. We always give our own a
Yeah.
hard time, don't we? I mean, some of the stick that Barkley got when he was here was just ridiculous.
Exactly, yeah. But anyway, so quickly moving on to the Man United game. Anyway, that should be a nice, easy one, shouldn't it? So, what do we think about that? Like,
we're gonna lose.
All right, that's your prediction then, done. So, what do you think, Scott?
In all honesty, mate, I'm not sure who's going to be fit and who's not. If we're going into that game without Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison, the best you're going to hope for is a draw, unless we absolutely play out of our skin. Because trying to break them down up the other ends without them two, I mean, just look at yesterday. Some of the balls going in. You know, there was a few times you said, like, Gray got a couple across the middle, across the front of the goal early on. There was a couple of times Townsend turned onto his left foot and whipped it in, and Ronson wasn't really there. Now, if you've got Calvert-Lewin in there and Richarlison running in behind him as well, you probably win that game. That could have been 4-0 maybe yesterday. So without them at United, it's going to be difficult. I think the best you can hope for is a draw. But the way our defence have been, it's going to be really, really, really difficult to come away with the result there. And that's not being pessimistic. I don't feel I'm being pessimistic. I think I'm just being realistic. You know, like we've been off the pace at the back. We're struggling. Oh, Mike's gone. Struggling for positions going forward. So, you know, optimistically a draw, fantastically a win, realistically we're going to get beat there, I think.
We agree. Yeah, I think that possibly Rondon, like yesterday, trying to play him into fitness must be because the other two aren't going to be back. You'd assume that's why. Like, hold on a sec. There he is.
Sorry about that, Scott. I couldn't put up with your pessimism, that was why.
He carries on to say we're going to get beat.
Oh, yeah. I thought it was heading that way.
Well, fantastically a win. Hopefully a draw. Realistically, we're going to struggle.
Yeah.
Oh, well. Yeah, that sounds about right.
But still, mate, over the years, I've watched some really, you know, not very attractive football at Everton, and we've gone to United and we've got to win. So who's to say we can't? You know, weather the storm and nick a 1-0 victory, you know, a 2-0 victory, anything would be fantastic, and it's not impossible, but it's just going to be hard, isn't it?
I think the way that we're playing at the moment might actually favour, you know, just sort of breaking and trying to catch them on the break, trying to, you know, just weather the storm a little bit. But I do think it's going to be a back to the wall job, isn't it? More than anything, I daren't ask for a score prediction from either of you, but do you sort of agree with that?
Well, they got beat by Villa yesterday, so it can be done. But obviously, we got beat by Villa as well. I think absorbing the pressure, like Scott mentions about the defence hasn't been like top draw recently. I think we really missed Seamus at the back. I think if we can absorb the pressure, you could possibly nick one. But it's, you know, they've got quality all over the place, haven't they? And if our defence is top drawer on the day, it still doesn't mean that we can shut them out when they've got like Ronaldo down the middle of the goal and Sancho and whoever else.
Come on, Tom. What's your score?
3-1 United.
Oh, boo!
Look, you know what? I am often the optimist, right? And I'm gonna try and be optimistic, even though, despite what I've said. Now, look, Rafa is a good tactician. Rafa knows football, eats, sleeps, breathes, lives football. And I know some managers do, but it is known that he is obsessed. And if you look at that Liverpool team he won the Champions League with, against that team, against that AC Milan team, if anyone manager-wise, can possibly scrape us a result, you'd like to think it's going to be him. I'm going to go 1-0 Everton. Let's just hope for the best.
Evens it out there.
I might eat me words. I hope not. But you know what? Despite some Evertonians, I do have faith in Rafa, and I am glad we got Rafa, and he's got them all working hard. So let's just be optimistic and go for a nice 1-0.
Is Mike going to come in with a draw now?
Oh yeah, I'm sitting on the fence. Yeah, I've baited Scott into saying we're going to win, so I'm going to go for 1-1. I think a cagey 1-1 draw.
Well, but look, he does know. Rafa does know. Rafa does know football, and you know, sometimes we've gone into matches and it's looked like we've had a plan. The plan hasn't worked, and we've stuck to the same plan. I don't see that with that, but I think he's going to go in there and he's going to have a plan A and a plan B, possibly plan C. So you just never know. But keeping them out will be hard. You know, let's have a bit of faith in him, even if we haven't got faith in some of the other players. You know.
Yeah. Well, I hope you're right and not me.
Yeah. Well, fingers crossed. Anyway, I think we go there more in hope than expectation.
And if Iwobi nicks us the win, I will host.
I'll get that in writing.
He said this last time as well, of the Burnley game, if Iwobi scored, and every time Iwobi got the ball near the goal, I was like, go on. Scott,
oh, well, right. Thanks for that, guys. Fingers crossed for the weekend, and thank you to everyone for joining the Gwladys Beat. From myself, Dawn and Scott, thanks for joining, and hopefully see you again next week.
Bye.
Take care, guys.
See ya.